Welcome into Tapping Vegas, brought to you by Better and Green, and thank you to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbooks, where we do get our odds. If you guys would like to place some bets on some of the bets we're going to talk today, make sure you guys check out DraftKings. Go to our website, bettergreen.com, for a promo code to get you guys $150 in free bonus bets. Bobby, UFC 311, we've got two title fights. I talked about it last week. I'm like, man, we just have to get through this fight. Like, there were a couple good ones. There are a lot of good ones on this card, and we're only going to talk about the main five, the five on the main card, because we're just out of time, dude. They're just out of time. We can't talk about all of them. There's like Zach Reese fighting, a couple other that you and me were talking about that we're not going to get to today, but we will talk about them, and I'll have some articles on our website along with tweeting them out. And Bobby, I'm sure you will also. So make sure you guys follow our Twitters, which is right underneath our faces. And so, Bobby, why don't you take the first fight away, the fight that we're going to kick off this main card with?
Yeah, already starting off with a bang. We got Reinier de Ridder versus Kevin Holland. This is an interesting one. De Ridder, very young in his UFC career, a veteran to the sport overall, though, but only his second UFC fight. Was in one. That's where he's primarily spent the majority of his professional career. Very impressive career over there in one fighting championship, belt holder in that organization and everything. And, he's looking to replicate that same success here in the UFC. Not very old, doesn't have as much mileage as I originally remembered the first time we covered him on this show against Gerald Meerschaert, which, by the way, we correctly predicted that he would win. And not only would he win, but he would win by submission. And that was actually a really good plus odds, so you're welcome for that.
Yes.
De Ridder, 18-2. Like I said, I thought he had way more professional fights. Not a lot of wear and tear. It's good to see. Only 34. My big thing with him is this, right? So against Meerschaert had some really good opportunities where Meerschaert, kind of had de Ridder wobbled, kind of had him a little shaky, things of that nature. And then he kind of just folded, out of nowhere. De Ridder kind of gained the momentum, was able to shift the tides, and was able to get that arm triangle finish. My main thing with de Ridder is that type of thing does scare me. I mean, anybody can get caught, right? Like, it's MMA. There's so many ways to win, so many ways to lose, things of that nature. The main thing that was concerning to me was when you're looking at this matchup, I feel like de Ridder has the definitive grappling edge over Kevin Holland. Once again, Kevin Holland is a great grappler in his own right. Travis Lutter, black belt, good credentials, things of that nature. So definitely has the grappling advantage de Ridder does. In terms of striking, though, I would give that to Kevin Holland for sure. But how many times have we seen this play out with Kevin Holland is what it boils down to for me, right? Big Kevin Holland fan. Guy's always game, always exciting, fights anybody, anytime, anywhere. One of the few fighters left in the UFC that still kind of adheres to that mentality. But, I mean, check out the last, 4 fights. 1 win, 3 losses, right? Coming off a Roman Dolidze rib injury in round 1 this past October. Armbar round 1 over Ola Jacek in June last year. That's good to see that at least you're not losing to the Ola Jaceks of the world, but pretty concerning because March of that year, very boring. It was supposed to be an exciting fight with MVP. It wasn't. Lost to Jack Della Maddalena in September 2023. That was a good fight, back and forth, but nonetheless, one that he did clearly, to me, lose. So it's just kind of like Kevin Holland's been around for a long time. He's younger, but only by 2 years, so it's not significant. But he's got a lot of that wear and tear that we're talking about. 26-12, a lot more fights, even though he's the younger guy. And it's kind of like at this point, I love the activity level and all that, but is that starting to now hamper him? Is that now starting to be more of a liability for him with this constant activity, not really giving his body time to rest and recuperate, work on new techniques, work on new tactics, round out your game, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it's tough because, like I said, he does have the striking advantage, whereas Ridder excels in the grappling. Sometimes Kevin Holland can kind of come across as like a BJJ glass cannon. If he doesn't submit you, he gets subbed. Like we saw that with Brendan Allen when he fought Brendan Allen. He got rear naked choked. Who else was it? Marvin Vettori was able to successfully implement grappling. Derek Brunson was able to successfully do grappling against him. Like, yeah, Brendan Allen rear naked choked him. It just kind of depends, right? Like, he seems to be susceptible to that. If he's going to engage in grappling with you, if he doesn't get the choke, he gets choked out. Hamzat dorsed him in round one like it was nothing, His way is, outstriking you. If he has the striking advantage, he has to outstrike you, but I don't know if he's going to do that against De Ridder. I don't know how much his heart's in it. I don't know how much he's kind of willing to do it anymore. I feel like we might honestly, with that high activity level, be close to seeing Kevin Holland retire in the next year or two, because the man has been around now since, I think, 2019 even, which is a long time in this sport at that activity level to be around. It's not out of the question that he would be contemplating retirement. And for all these reasons, that's why it's hard for me to be in on Kevin Holland. Yeah, it was 2019 when he made his – actually, yeah. No, 2018. That's what I thought originally. 2018 when he made his debut, because I remember it against Thiago Santos, watching it live. Very exciting fight. Earned it on short notice off a Contender Series. And like I said, deserved it, but it's like you've been around since 2018 now with this activity level. I just have my doubts is all I'm saying. So looking at the betting side of things – kind of cut to the chase on this. Minus 108 if you're going on Kevin Holland, minus 112 for De Ridder. I love to see this. I love to see people thinking this is going to be a close fight, giving these good odds on this, because I don't like to see a huge mismatch, because it is right now this young into De Ridder's career. I wouldn't obviously scoff at anybody for thinking he would lose and, not exactly being impressed with that Meerschaert performance. So nobody's crazy if they pick Holland over De Ridder, etc. But I mean, getting De Ridder to win by sub at plus 330 is just too good for me to pass up. I definitely don't think De Ridder would be the one getting the KO TKO at plus 1200. I could see decision. Let me see what it would be like if I did like a double method on that.
I did. For the sub decisions plus 100.
You know what? I'll just roll with that. Since the odds are so close on money line. You're actually making a little bit of a decent profit to kind of, take that edge off. And then, I mean, hey, if you're really dead set on Kevin Holland, I'm actually shocked you're not getting KO TKO at a better rate at plus 185 on that. But decision's not bad at plus 550. It's a 15-minute fight, so 3 5-minute rounds. I could see him kind of picking apart De Ridder, but I mean, as for myself personally, I'm all in at that plus 100 De Ridder decision sub double method. What do you think?
Man, I couldn't agree more. I was gonna ask you about that, what you thought about the plus 100 double method, because it's like that plus 330. I worry because I don't think Ridder's gonna win in the striking affair. So if he can get outstruck, it makes me a little nervous about if it does go to decision. But then again, if Ridder can get him taken down, I think he's going to ride him out and have a lot of control time in this fight, because, I feel like he at least gets 2 takedowns. If this goes to a decision, I feel like he at least gets that. So I think he'll control most of this fight. So I think decision's a possibility. And so I want to take the plus 330 because I think that's really probable. I think Holland is ripe to get submitted, but I feel like I might be getting greedy there. And that might just be better to bet a unit, win a unit. Just play it safe. So I think that's probably what I will do. But I have a question for you. I'd like to know. Public betting percentage. Who do you think is a favorite and ballpark percentage?
I would think Holland, since he's the name. He's somebody that's been around for a while. He's got that. And by how much I think how much money I think's coming in, I would say.
What percentage of bets do you think people of the public bets, not the money,
right?
Of the public bets are coming in?
I'd say people are probably like 70% in on them.
You're dangerously 70%. Close, dude. You got it. Holland is the favorite, and he's at 62%. 62% of the bets, at 55% of the money, and once again, he is the better odds fighter. He's a minus 108 versus a minus 112. So a lot of less people, only 38% of the bets are on Ridder, 45% of the money, so we're seeing sharp money come in. I really like that for us. I like that we're on the side that costs you more and has less public money and less public bets. So I just feel like DeRitter is definitely the side here. That's what Vegas is telling us. That's what you and me both feel. So once again, it's making me want to take that plus 330 sub so bad. But I feel like Holland will just outlast and end up costing you in the end because you got greedy. So I'll stick with the plus 100 with you.
All right, yeah, there we go.
Let's talk about the next fight, Bobby. That is Mr. Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush. Making the graphics today, I noticed Beneil Dariush looks like from the Zohan, like an Adam Sandler dad character.
Oh, 100%. For sure.
I really like Beneil. Looking at the money percentage here, because once again, that is one of the things that I am always looking at. Beneil, 20% of the bets, so a lot of money coming in on Moicano, which makes sense. 80% of the bets, 72% of the money at a minus 162 price point. That's a little scary in my book, but I think it's okay. I'm going to take Moicano. Dariush has just been getting knocked out brutally in his last couple fights. I believe his last 2 fights, he was knocked out in both of them. I can't, and I would really like, when I look at the pictures, and my public perception, or at least I should say my perception, is that Dariush is a lot older than Moicano. And then, once again, doing the research, they're both the same age. They're both 35. So that kind of surprised me right there. Records, pretty similar. Styles, kind of similar. Dariush, known for kind of being like a sub guy. Moicano also. I was not super high on Moicano. I thought he was pretty good, but after his BSD win, dude, that impressed me. That really impressed me. I did not think he would beat Benoit Saint Denis. He got it done, so I think if he can beat him, I think for sure he can beat Dariush. So that's the side that I'm on. I'm interested to see what you think. I know, once again, against Vegas here, and that usually doesn't work out well for you, but I just can't take Dariush in this situation.
Yeah, real quick, you did your research. Beneil Dariush is knocked out in his last 2 fights. His most recent fight was December 2023 when Arman Tsarukyan KO'd him with the knee punches. And then before that, June of 2023, it was the TKO loss to Charlie Oliveira, Charles Olives. So, yeah, he's taken all of 2024 off, which is probably the best thing to do after suffering 2 pretty violent knockout losses back-to-back in 2023 like that. Good call for him. Yeah, I don't have much more to add to this that you haven't already hit on. Excellent job, as always. Yeah, Beneil Dariush is just – it's been such a long layoff, and once again, yeah, that's the right thing to do. When you're violently knocked out, you want to recover. You want to get your brain healthy. You want to try to get that fluid built back up. You want to try to do whatever you can to improve your defense, to make sure that you're not taking those shots, not dropping your hands, bobbing, weaving, whatever it takes to get the job done, right? It's hard in MMA, though, because you have so much more coming at you than just traditional punches. You know, it's not like boxing. You have to worry about, all right, if I do bob and weave, I might be doing that right into a head kick, or I might be doing that right into a knee or something, right? So It's tough, and especially when you're fighting somebody like Moicano, as you mentioned, who's just so violent, just so still hungry for it, just so ready and willing to just get after it. I mean, 22-6 for Beneil Dariush. So once again, like I said, these guys, they may not be old, like from a biological age standpoint, they're only in like their 30s and they still have a lot of tread left in the tires in that regard. But when you have like 26 plus fights, that's when it starts to really just show itself, you know? And I mean, 20-5 is the record for Moicano, so not a huge difference there. Right. But what I'm getting at is just how their past few fights have went and how they look in those fights is all the difference that you need, right? Like getting knocked out back-to-back like Dariush in that same time frame. Now Renato and Moicano is coming off back-to-back finishes. He didn't get knocked out. He did the finishing. He did that to Jalen Turner April last year. He just did that, like you mentioned, to BSD this past September. Before he
not slouches.
Yeah, not slouches. Drew Dober picked him apart. Cruised to a pretty good unanimous decision win last February. Good name. Before that, he had a little bit of a layoff, hadn't fought since 2022, had some things he was recovering from, etc. Brad Riddell, a guy I was very, very high on until he unfortunately fell off the cliff. Rear naked choke over him. So, yeah, to kind of wrap this up, I'm also on Moicano. And did you go with a method? What was your pick on that?
I realized I didn't say it. I'm just going money line minus
Just money
162.
line?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good money line. It's not bad. I like that it is because I feel like it personally should be way farther apart. There should be a huge gap, especially with all the money that's pouring in on Moicano. I'm glad we're getting it at the moment we are. To try to take the edge off that, though, I find it really hard, even in a 15-minute fight, just your standard 3-rounder, though, to think that Dariush is going to make it past. So that's why I really like Moicano win by KO, TKO, or sub at plus 150. I really like that. I just find it so hard to see this go into decision, especially even though he's given himself time to recover. Sometimes your chin's just gone, man. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's just done. It's just that point in your career, and it's like it doesn't matter if you take a year off, 2 years off, whatever. You just can't take it anymore. And I just feel like everything I'm seeing with the trajectory of these guys' careers, how they match up against each other, things of that nature. Moicano's a tough physical dude. We've seen him go to war more recently. We've seen him survive. Could that be a negative? Could that be him accumulating his own damage that's ticking away at the time he has left to fight? Sure, but that's a speculation. Whereas with Dariush, it feels like a sure thing, So
Right.
yeah, I like Moicano sub KO at plus 150.
My fear is that this is Vegas's plan. Like I said, only 28% of the money on Dariush, and it's such a small line, plus 136. Like you said, this line feels like it should be way bigger. It's like, why isn't it?
Right.
Is it
Yeah.
because they're just like baiting us into taking Moicano, which Moicano should win, but like, does Dariush just catch him with something? Does he just catch him with a punch he doesn't see coming, or just catch him when they're rolling on the ground and get a submission? Like, I don't know. Like, we just saw Dern beat Ribas. I didn't think that would happen, but this one, from a Vegas standpoint, worries me probably the most.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Don't get me wrong, and I guess I also shouldn't act like Dariush is just completely dead because we've also seen, to play devil's advocate, we've also seen plenty of male and female fighters who were left for dead and then came back. Had a
Right.
career resurgence, like Kevin Holland we just talked about not that long ago. There was a point in his career, since he's been around for a while now, since 2018, where he kind of had a skid. Then he got really active during COVID in 2021, and he was just racking together wins, and it looked like he was on his way out the door. He had a resurgence. So
Right.
definitely, like I said, not criticizing anybody. If you want to get in on the Dariush side of things, I definitely see it that way, as opposed to some other fights we've covered throughout this show. But I just feel pretty decent about where I'm going.
I do too. I do too. All right, Bobby, take away the third fight, man.
This one's a very difficult one for me. This is Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. As far as who do I like better, I mean, of course, I would like Prochazka to win. He's who I'm rooting for, things of that nature. That's my preferred, outcome in this fight. But I gotta admit, he's so frustrating, right? So to be a Jiri fan, you have to endure that frustration of, this guy has the talent, clearly, because he's made it to the pinnacle of the, MMA world, fighting in the UFC at this weight class against the opponents he's fought, against the opponents he's beaten. He's clearly at least top 10 as of right now, no matter what happens in the world in that weight class. But he just trains and fights so idiotically. He just will not adapt. He will not change his game. He will not do anything different other than Tom Cruise Last Samurai his way to victory or defeat. And it's very funny and it's entertaining, but it's just, how much he's leaving on the table, so to say, right? That there's a lot left to be desired that he could be achieving if he would just finally come up with a coherent game plan that doesn't involve, all right, I'm going to go dip my balls into the frozen lake of Minnetonka every morning at 3 a.m. and then meditate in it up to my nipples and then, go running around naked in the woods afterwards saying, ah, wah, wah, wah. Like, dude, get an actual gym, do actual training in the gym instead of just beating up a tree stump and lifting lumber around and meditating and chopping up brush with your damn katana. Get a gym, get an actual game plan, and just stop screwing around in front of people who are world-class strikers with your hands down. It's kind of a boomer debate at this point. Get your hands up, Sonny. Get your hands up, Sonny. You can't win fights with your hands down. You can. There's been plenty of great fucking fighters who've won fights with their hands down. There's been plenty of shit fighters who've lost fights because of their hands down. That's not even my biggest complaint. It's just no change, no evolution, no attempt to even try to do something different. And that's just the biggest thing with Prochazka, because as much as I'm not a Jamal Hill fan and I find him irritating, and like the whole thing with Alex Pereira where he's like, fight me, bro. And Alex is like, well, let's fight. And he just acts like it's just like, oh, okay, I don't really want to fight. Like shit like that's stupid. But you still have to admit the guy is still an elite fighter himself. He's also still another top 10 in that division in the UFC at the pinnacle of the sport. And yeah, I know he's coming off the round 1 loss to Alex Pereira last April, but I mean, that's Alex fucking Pereira, and look how great he's looked, because before that, Hill was beating Glover Teixeira, Pereira's coach, one of his mentors, pretty handily. Beat Thiago Santos. I know that was late career Santos where he's gun shy and just wasn't the same, but nonetheless, pretty impressively beat him. Johnny Walker. Once again, Johnny Walker's a flailing inflatable tube man. Augusta Wynn knocks him out, but still, at least you're doing it. Jimmy Crute, I was very high on Jimmy Crute, another guy I really liked until his career just fell off, unfortunately. Beat him in round 1 like it was nothing. Like, he is good. The only reason why he lost to Paul Craig was because his arm got dislocated, because Paul Craig put him in an arm bar because he was an idiot and just fell right into it. But other than that, I mean, he's only lost twice in the UFC. Like, yeah, he had to recover from that injury. He had some other things going on that kind of, basically he wasn't able to be as active as he wanted to be. He ruptured his Achilles at one point, had to vacate the title as a result of that, things of that nature. So I understand it. He won the belt, but like I said, the Achilles happened. He had to vacate it. And that's kind of why he ended up fighting Pereira, because since he took the belt from Glover, Pereira kind of felt like it was his redemption arc to get the belt back, to avenge, his sensei type thing, if you want to talk about samurai movies like Jiri. So what I'm getting at with all this is Jamal Hill is annoying, and he can definitely rub people the wrong way, but don't sleep on him. And especially in a fight against Jiri, that's definitely a winnable fight for him. So, I mean, I don't like to bet with my heart. I try to bet with my mind. Like I tell people all the time on this show, I try to practice what I preach. So, I mean, what this fight boils down to for me, this is a very close fight. This is kind of just like the Moicano Dariush fight, where I could see it going either way. I have a lean, but I could easily see either outcome happening. I'm not sneezing at or criticizing anybody that picks something different than me. But I mean, if I'm getting Prochazka at plus 114, which is actually kind of shocking, I felt like that'd be a little bit like more of him being a dog, because you're only getting Hill at minus 135. I still like those odds, though. I still like those odds a lot. Prochazka at plus 114, Hill at minus 135. Very decent money line. My preferred would be Hill by KO, TKO, or decision. Same for Jiri. I don't think anybody's getting a sub in this. Neither guy's a sub artist. This is going to be standing and banging. This is definitely going to be a lot of striking. Hill is a very good boxer. I will give him credit there. That's another thing. Very good boxing, solid hands. Prochazka has power. He's unorthodox. He's unconventional. You'll get hands. You'll get head kicks. You'll get knees. You'll get all types of weird, crazy, offside, off stance things from him. But they're going to duke it out. They're going to stand and trade, I feel like, and it should be an exciting fight. And, yeah, the toughest one to call for me. Toughest one to call for me, but as much as I hate it, I think I'm going Hill here. I really do. I hate to say it, but I just am so worried about Prochazka going forward. But you know what? Oh, gosh, man, this is tough. I'll say Hill. I'll say Hill KO TKO at plus 175 unless I get the double at something crazy. I think I'll just go straight KO TKO unless the double is just crazy. Yeah, if you take KO TKO decision, double up on it, it's minus 120. So I'm just gonna say straight KO TKO. I hope I'm wrong, but once again, I'm trying not to bet with my heart.
Well, let me make it even worse for you. Prochazka was actually the favorite at one point when the odds first came out. And now it's flipped to him being the dog. And I saw some people being like, well, I was just going to take the dog in this fight. Because like you were saying, like we both think this is going to be a close fight. This one is really hard to call. So they're saying, well, I was going to take Hill. Now I'm going to take Jiri. Just because now he's the one with plus money. And now looking into it, okay, the odds flipped. So that means a lot of money came in on Hill as the underdog. So then to switch it, then you make the other one the underdog. And then you wait till money pours in on them. Because the best case for Vegas is that it's 50-50. And so then they're not having to pay out. They can manage their losses there. Jiri has 61% of the money and 63% of the bets. So why are they continuously giving Jiri better and better odds to make people pick Jiri?
Look into it.
Isn't that gives you a little bit of pause? That's that reverse line movement that they talk about. Hill, only 39% of the money at minus 135. Once again, he was the underdog, and now he's moved to minus 135. Not huge like some of these other fights. Like you'll see Peyton Talbot, I think, is in the minus like 1,100. But to go like that, to flip to minus 135, and the other guy is 63% of the money, that is a big, big red flag for me. Another big red flag against Hill, though, is that I saw he said that he's like, I'm a big boy. I'm weighing 240 pounds right now. 3 weeks before the weigh-ins.
Wowzers. Yeah, he's always looked like one of those guys who definitely just lets himself go in between fights.
That's 35 pounds. That is hard to lose in 3 weeks. I'm not 100% sure we have this fight because of that. I think it's possible that Hill does make weight.
Ooh, that'd be good. Yeah, at that point, depending on how bad the miss is. I mean, if it's down to Jiri, he's going to be on some samurai way bullshit where he's like, the code requires me to still fight,
Exactly.
But the commission, the commission's hand might be forced. If it's too egregious, like if it's over 5 pounds, anything over 5 pounds, and you still don't make it if they even give you a second attempt, at that point they're starting to wonder, all right, is this going to get pulled because the commission's going to force their hand, especially like 10 pounds, which is very easily something he could miss by. Right. 10 pounds are pulling it. It doesn't matter,
Right. And in that case, I believe your bet's forfeited in that scenario. And then if it's not, and he gets a fight overweight, if you came in knowing that you could put money on Hill with being on the side of Vegas and he gets a weight advantage, that makes you feel a little better, right?
Yeah, I forget what the latest statistic for it is because there's been a lot of fights since they started keeping track of how the winning percentage of fighters that miss weight, but it was something insane. Like whoever misses weight in a fight went on to win like 85 to 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know what that's up to now, but it was wild.
And the fact that this reverse line movement's going on with Vegas, and I'm like you, I'd rather have Jiri win. I think the stuff with Hill being just the nonstop complaining about the Pereira fight, it's just like, it makes me gag, dude. I liked Hill before, and like the more I watch and more I listen to Hill, the more I kind of like get rid of this dude. So to be picking Hill in this situation, definitely not picking with my heart here, but all the signs point there. So I feel like I have to take Hill, which I would love to take in a close fight. You take the underdog and you take the plus money, but I just can't here, man. Yeah. But I don't know about the. Once again, Jiri's just not a very good. I'm seeing on my screen right now, 39% strike defense. I feel like you're right with the knockout. But it makes me so nervous of if it does go to decision.
I mean, if it goes to decision, that's going to be disgusting. let's be honest. If it goes to decision, I don't know how entertaining that's necessarily going to be.
Right. You know what? Since you took the knockout, I'll be safe and play the KO decision, and hopefully gets the KO, and then we have a minus 120 and a plus 175, and we're making out like bandits.
I like it. I like it a lot. Good way to hedge there.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Sure.
Let's talk about this fourth fight, our first title fight we're going to talk about. That is Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Yes, I said that perfectly the first time, both of their names. Ladies, please dry your pants. This is a big wrestling match, man. And I know people hate the wrestling matches, but being a former wrestler, I'm excited. I also kind of do like the Dagestani guy's style, and Umar's not a bad striker, man. Umar's not a bad striker. One of the few things that really stuck out to me, especially after the Sean O'Malley win, which if I'm correct, Bobby, you called that. You called Merab to win that fight. Everybody was on Sean.
100%. I made quite a bit of plus money there on Merab Dvalishvili.
You did. You stood on business for that one, man.
Yeah, did my research.
I don't think he wins this one. I really don't think Merab takes this one. I think Umar wins. And there's some of the complaints that are like, oh, well, he hasn't faced anybody. He just he beat Corey Sandhagen in his last fight. Who else is this guy going to fight? I mean, you need to fight, I guess, Peter Yan, Merab, or Sean O'Malley are the guys he could have fought before this one. But if Sean O'Malley's not going to fight Merab, and Merab's already beat Peter Yan, then I feel like Umar was the correct choice here. And everything to me, if you're looking, once again, armchair psychologist, whatever you want to call it, Merab does not want to fight him. He was ducking him as soon as he won that belt. He's like, no, I don't think Umar deserves it. Kept putting him down. And at the press conferences, just didn't want to have anything to do with Umar. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff coming out from Merab where he's saying, oh, I'm injured, but I'm still going to fight. I have a pretty serious injury, but I'm still going to fight. Why is he saying this stuff, bro?
Looks like he's got a pretty gnarly staff or something on his leg. One of his legs is looking pretty beat up. Not really sure what's going on there from what I've seen.
This awesome card might just completely fall apart, but I hope it doesn't. I think Umar does beat Merab. Merab, just the king of volume. The king of volume. I don't think Umar's been taken down yet. I'm sure the stats just flashed on the screen. I think he's at 100% takedown defense. And then Merab's I believe, high 30s and takedown average, something like that, takedown accuracy. I just think, you know what? You can have all the cardio in the world, but if you try to take it to the ground and Umar is able to get on top and control, I don't think Merab can get up. Whereas I think Umar can get away from Merab. Because Merab just has 7,000 takedowns a fight. He's not keeping dudes down. Whereas Umar is able to keep these guys down. Umar's got the better striking. I think he's more powerful. Yep, takedown average 6.09 for Merab. Umar 3.98. I'm on Umar here, man. And I hate it because you want to take the guy facing the champ at plus money, but Umar's a minus 270 favorite, which is insane to me. I don't think Umar gets the decision. I don't think Umar gets a knockout. Could it be a submission or a decision? Submission plus 450. Wow, decision minus 135. Because he beat Sandhagen, I believe, by decision, correct?
Yes, yeah. He took him to the decision, yeah.
I feel like it's going to be a decision. I really do. I mean, maybe he submits Merab. Umar's just not that type of dude, man. He just wins by decisions and controlling the fight. So I'll take Umar by decision minus 135. Still a disgusting number, but what are you going to do about it? Bobby, What do you think?
Yeah, I don't hate this fight as much as some other people apparently might be hating it. I don't see why. If you look at the rankings, I know the rankings are a joke, but I mean, for God's sake, we got to pretend like something has merit in this system that is extremely flawed in this sport that we love with nothing but failed systems constantly propping it up from scoring to judging to rankings, etc. We have to pretend like something's sacred at least. Sean O'Malley, we just discussed. Umar's sliding in at number 2, we just discussed. Peter Yan, that'd be great how he's looking off of Figueiredo, but still too soon. Still needs one more win, I would say. Corey Sandhagen, we already discussed. He's slotting in at number 4. Umar just beat him, so he's out. Figgy just lost, even though he's looked impressive. Marlon Cheeto Vera's irrelevant. Henry Cejudo's number 7, irrelevant. Song Yadong has promise, but not right now. Rob Font, no, and then Mario Batista's 10. And then after that, it's like, what the hell? Like, who are some of these people? Like, I like Marcus McGee and Montel Jackson, but it's like, come on, man. Like, let's be real here. Yeah, once again, always great analysis. My biggest scene is this, right? So anytime you have two very good grapplers going up against each other, I mean, like we say Umar is a great grappler, and we say that because we've seen a little bit of it in the Nurmagomedov name and everything. Mm-hmm. But I mean, out of all the Nurmagomedovs, especially between Khabib and Islam that we've seen in the UFC, he's one that is definitely willing to strike the most, right? Like him and Usman, and I think Usman's his brother, and they're all cousins of Khabib. It's the family relationship there, I do believe. I could be wrong, but either way, they're all related. It's semantics at this point, whether it's brothers or cousins. But what I'm getting at is Usman, Nurmagomedov, and Umar were always the ones that Khabib and Islam touted as, yeah, they have our grappling, they have our wrestling, but they're also very good strikers. They're also very good kickboxers, Muay Thai, that type of thing. So my biggest X factor for this is going to be, let's say they do wrestle, because this is, like you mentioned, a 5-round fight since it's for the title, so 25 minutes. Let's say they wrestle, they feel kind of evenly matched, or, they're not as, willing to engage as a result. Obviously, Umar wins the striking, right? Like most of Merab, from watching numerous hours of tape on him, it's all set up just to get the takedown. Like he's throwing these things that are wild kicks, wild punches, all that. Kind of Khabib style. He knows they're not going to land, but they close the distance. They back you up. They get you panicking. And then that's what leads to you not seeing the takedown. That's his ultimate goal that he's advancing towards is I'm doing this just to set up the takedown. Mixed martial arts 101 of integrating the two together. So that's my biggest concern is if it turns into a striking match, he's definitely in a very terrible position to be, and he's going to get drowned, Merab is. But I gotta disagree just because it's too tantalizing with the plus money alone on the money line from Merab. And just after seeing everything with his gas tank, just how insane he is, just how he pushes the pace, how he's been able to overcome, the losses early on in his career, like the Ricky Simone loss, things of that nature, and just been able to turn things around and get this far like he has. It's very impressive. It's very good to see. And it's just too good to pass up. It's nice to hedge with you on Umar, but I just really, really would like to take advantage of, Merab's really redeemed himself after that Sean O'Malley fight to me, because even though I called it, it was still hard. I still thought that he was going to get knocked out. I still wondered if he was going to wilt, that type of thing. And he went out there and he executed it flawlessly. So I'm just going to go straight Merab money line at plus 220. It's such a close fight. We're now at that part of the card where every fight's fun. It should be entertaining, we hope. It's not boring. And it's legitimately competitive, and it's some of the best matchups available in the division. And they're the matches that should be going on, which is so rare to get in the UFC nowadays, and why we suffer through for the rest of the year. We joke. The price you pay for UFC 311 is 6 months of UFC ass. So
I like that, Bobby. Also look at the betting percentage here. I forgot to mention that earlier. Split straight down the middle, 50-50 for the money. So look at 74% of bets coming in on Umar. That's 1,000% people betting on the name that they're seeing. And then 26% on Merab. Like I said, 50% of money says a lot of sharp money coming in, seeing that you have a current champion at more than 2-1 odds. So I like that you took it, Bobby, and I hope it works out for us. I don't know. I personally I want to see Umar win because I think Umar was also on my list of guys, favorite fighters, which two of my guys are both fighting for belts that were on my list. So shout out to my guys coming through for this card, but this is gonna be an exciting one, man. But I don't know if it's as exciting as this last one that you're gonna talk about.
Yeah, main events arrived. Another 5-round championship fight. This time for the 155-pound lightweight championship between Arman Tsarukyan and Islam Makhachev. This is a rematch of this was Arman Tsarukyan's debut in the UFC. How crazy is that? In this man's debut, they gave him Islam Makhachev, one of the
Rough.
phenomenal elite guys, not only in the 155-pound division, but the UFC and mixed martial arts as a whole, not just the UFC, the entire sport. The
Yeah.
guy taking on the mantle of Habib's legacy, his protege, his childhood friend, right? So, yeah, the UFC clearly saw something in Tsarukyan to give him that in his debut. So, I'm also a big Tsarukyan fan. I like Islam too. Not as much as I like Tsarukyan, but I do like Islam. He's definitely grown on me. I've definitely am appreciative of his contributions to the sport, his accomplishments, the things he's been able to do, how he's made it look flawless. I mean, I don't really hold him having a loss on his record in such high regard as I see some people as like, oh, he'll never be as good as Habib because he has that one loss. Like, I don't care. Honestly, I kind of like that he has the loss because it makes him. I like the human side of it, man. I like to see somebody get knocked out by somebody that they weren't supposed to get knocked out by. Adriano Martins isn't even in the UFC, hasn't even been in the UFC for years and years, and nobody thought he would be the guy of all people to give Islam that loss. And, Islam didn't sulk about it. He, didn't cry. He went out there, he lost, and then he never lost again. He clearly learned something from it, got lucky, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, he's good. And, he seems to be evolving, right? Like, once again, going back to the guys who start off as grapplers, sometimes you see them grow into pretty decent strikers, and it's always hard to tell, right? Are they growing into better strikers because they're working on their technique, their coaching, their things of that nature, and that's what's allowing them to learn new things, try new things, more practice? Or is it kind of a situation where people are so terrified of the grappling that they, make mistakes, do things they wouldn't ordinarily to do, and that's kind of what allows like Islam to be a good striker? Maybe it's both. Who knows? But either way, nice to see, and it's something we've seen play out a lot, right? Like Tyron Woodley before he became the Frozen One instead of the Chosen One,
Frozen one.
kind of was a wrestler who fell in love with his hands, found out he had power, fell in love with it, lived by it, died by it, and it ended up ruining his career, unfortunately. Sucks, but Usman, another guy, Kamaru Usman, not Usman Nurmagomedov, but Kamaru Usman, started off as a wrestler, started being able to knock guys out, fell in love with it. Maybe it led to his career being done. Maybe it was his health. Who knows? But hey, so Islam, knocked out Volkanovski with a head kick, was able to piece up Dustin Poirier pretty well in that fight. So you gotta just kind of wonder how that comes about. But when it comes to this fight, this is a very, very good fight. I can't say enough good things about this fight. So I kind of just try to keep this short and move on. Another one that's tough. Another one that is extremely tough. I think the odds on this should be a lot closer, especially as a result of how that first fight played out, with that being Tsarukyan's debut, and he did as well as he did. I think he's only going to do even better now that he's had more experience, more knowledge, more reps, more time, things of that nature. I think he's going to do even better. So it is a bit wild that you're seeing current money line odds on this at minus 325 for Makhachev, plus 260 for Tsarukyan. I feel like that should be a lot closer. But I mean, I also don't criticize people, right? Because I mean, if you're somebody who's like, oh, quality of competition, I personally myself, I like to look at it, but I don't think that it's the end all be all. I think it's nice to see caliber of competition. I mean, it's kind of even to me. Like, Tsarukyan has been in there with Charles Oliveira. Amazing fighter, enough said, right?
Right.
Beneil Dariush, great fighter, but maybe on decline.
Right.
Joaquim Silva's not really doing it for me. Damir Ismagulov did do it for me. I do think Damir is a very good guy in that division, kind of a dark horse. He's always going to kind of be hovering around top 10. A little bit controversial loss to Matuz Gamrot. I haven't watched that fight in like the past year, so I don't remember it too clear. So I don't really know one way or another if I agree or disagree with that decision. I just know at the time it was controversial. Absolutely destroyed Joe Alvarez. Matt Favola's not really doing it for me. OBA, Olivier Alba Mercier was decent when they fought, but then he fizzled out quick. I mean, Islam has fought the better competition. I will say that. Arman started stepping it up in his last 4 fights with Charles, with Damir, things of that nature. But now that I'm thinking about it and, speaking it into existence, that's kind of what's now leading me to think, okay, maybe Makhachev takes it again. Because Tsarukyan, once again, is great. I think he's greatly improved. I think he's amazing. I think he's always going to be the biggest threat to Makhachev in that division. But unfortunately, I just still think that this is another situation where he probably comes up short again. And I hate that because I would like to see him get the belt. But I just think Makhachev too advanced. Like I said, the striking's getting even better, and Tsarukyan's striking's never been a strong point. Once again, it's gotten better too, right? He's made improvements also. He has, the axe kick with his insane flexibility. He's able to pull off things of that nature. But Makhachev's looking sharp. He's looking polished. And once again, maybe it's the threat of the takedown that's allowing him to have the confidence to stand and trade with Volkanovski, to kind of have moments where he stands and trades with Poirier. But I just think maybe it's also that, plus he's getting better, and I like how technical his striking is looking. I like how powerful it's looking, and he's able to get finishes from those strikes like he did to Bobby Green, like he did to Volkanovski, how he beat up Poirier before he subbed him. And, I mean, the guy is – he's on a 3, 4, 5, 5-fight finishing streak. And then Volkanovski, the first fight, he was only able to go to decision. But after that, finished Poirier. So now 2-fight finishing streak and just not lost since 2015 against Adriano Martins. It's just insane. And I know Tsarukyan's a little bit less experience and everything. But, I mean, there's not a huge age difference. It's just another thing where Makhachev just has that, more miles, 26 wins, 1 loss, more fights, things like that. But I just don't think he's slowing down. I think, if anything, he's in his prime. I think we're seeing the prime of Islam Makhachev. I think we're seeing the prime of Arman Tsarukyan. And I just think it's just too much. It's just too much to overcome. He's – like the things that even worked in the first fight, like the butterfly sweeps, things like that, like those are great, and I've studied those in depth, and I really think that those are things that do give Makhachev trouble, right? Like Mansar Banui, when he fought Makhachev, had a lot of success with the elevator sweeps and the butterfly guard and all that stuff, and that's the same thing Tsarukyan used. But even in the Tsarukyan fight, Makhachev knew that those were issues. And then clearly you could tell he had been working on it in practice and training, because he also used that to then still implement his own game plan, right? Like he would just ride the butterfly and ride the elevator back into his favorite top control positions, where he's got he's in half guard, but he's still smothering you, in top position from that half guard. And eventually he's going to break your guard and he's going to be able to pass and he's going to be able to sub you or just do whatever he wants. And I just think that even though Tsarukyan does have answers, I think Makhachev is smart enough, calculated enough to already have answers for that, to already know to expect it. And it's just kind of like, what's harder, right? You already know your game plan. You already know what they're going to do, and you just go out there and just react. That's flowing, right? Or you being like, oh, God, I hope this works. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to explain, but you're just like, oh, I have a plan. I think I can beat this guy, but I hope it works. Whereas you already know what they're going to do. You already know they're going to try to butterfly guard you, elevator sweep you, all that. And you're just like, all right, well, I know how to counter that. And you're just like, Well, what do I do now? Because my butterfly and my elevator is now taken away. So how do you proceed? And you don't have the striking advantage. So all that to say, to take the edge off Makhachev at minus 325, you're not really getting much. I don't know that I'd go outright KO TKO for Makhachev, even with the improved striking, even though it's at plus 600. If you just go straight sub plus 330, I honestly don't see this going to decision. I know the odds makers think it will, but I honestly don't. It's a 5-round fight. I think he's even more dangerous than Oliveira, and Oliveira had Tsarukyan in some very compromising, dangerous situations. Islam is even more dangerous than that, will definitely have the ability to put him in even more compromising positions, especially over the course of a full 5 rounds, 25 minutes. And it's just, yeah, it's going to be Makhachev for me. It's just hard to figure out how to try to make something off of it. I guess KO, TKO, DQ, or sub double method is at plus 215. I might come back to this fight for maybe a haymaker or something, but for right now, I think I'm going to go KO, TKO, sub double at plus 215 for Makhachev. What you got?
I think that if you go back to when they first fight and you had to pick which one has come further, I think Arman's come further. I think Arman has just really developed. And like you said, I think he's just one of the guys, which, to be fair, there's a lot of really good guys in this division. But I think Arman is one of the top guys. And I was looking back at his fights, like, okay, Dan Hooker, all right. Bobby Green, not that impressive for me for Islam. And then he beat Charles Oliveira. I think Charles, Tsarukyan, and Makhachev are the top 3. That's my opinion right now of the division. He beat Charles, which was excellent. Subbed him. Then he fights Volk, gets the decision. Tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like Islam is now at the point where he's getting wins off of aura. Like, he comes in and he knocks out Volk. Okay. Then he beats Dustin Poirier. All right. Poirier puts himself, like, he's notorious for putting himself in horrible positions. And so I don't know about those last 2 wins. Once again, really good competition. I just think, once again, also a Dagestani guy. I think people are scared of Islam. I really do. And also, I'm not saying they shouldn't be. Islam's a bad man. I believe right now, pound for pound, best fighter in the UFC. At least he is on the website. But, man, I'm telling you, I don't think Arman's going to be scared of him. And that was the thing. I was worried about Arman going in, facing Oliveira. He didn't just go in there to beat Oliveira. He went in and tried to finish Oliveira. He had no fear. And that really impressed me. And I think he went the full distance with Islam last time. And I think he wants to get his lick back. I think he's going to go in there, wanting to redeem himself, win the belt. There's a lot riding on this for Arman. I think he gets it done, man. Once again, Islam could win. This is a very, very tough fight. I think the odds should be closer. I believe you said that earlier as well.
Yeah.
I like Arman, man. And also one of the things that really impressed me after, I believe, was it UFC 300 that he fought Oliveira?
Where Islam fought Oliveira?
Where Arman fought Oliveira.
Oh, let me check. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but maybe it was.
Well, while you're looking that up, this is what I'm going to say on the matter. So, I remember at the very end of the...
Right.
It was 300?
Yep, sorry. You're right.
Let's go. No, thank you. When I was watching it, dude, Arman was, like, winning. Really, I thought he looked really impressive in that fight. Then at the very end, it looked like he was going to get subbed. Because Oliveira had him in a hole. Oliveira sticking his tongue out. He's all pumped, excited about it. And Arman was able to withstand. Was it because he was a physical freak? No. It's because he did the tape work. He and his team said, you know what? Oliveira loves a submission attempt, and he's probably going to try it. You might find yourself the way that you fight. You might find yourself in this situation, and this is the defense to do it, to keep your breath long enough and to hopefully outlast. And that's exactly what he did, which that film and tape study is very impressive to me. You're not able to do film study like that when you're getting kicked off of planes.
Right. Yeah.
I forget his name.
Brother,
Habib.
this exit, brother.
Yes.
Brother.
So that I just think Arman, and once again, you're getting him at plus 250. It's going up. I believe you said it's at what, 260 now?
It's pretty ridiculous right now. Right now, you're getting Arman at because Islam's at like minus 325, and then you got minus
Keeps moving.
325 exactly, and then you got Tsarukyan at plus 260.
Yeah, it keeps moving. Give me Arman. You know what? Sprinkle a little bit on Arman by sub plus 2,800.
I like it, man. I'm glad you're covering down. That way
But it's kind of like your Merab pick. I just feel like, you know what? That's too high of a number. I have to take Arman here.
Yeah.
Bobby,
I get it.
I want to know, with the DraftKings that we promote them because they're friends of the show. I want to know a high odd pick that the people can take that they can use to bet and win some money. We call it our haymaker. Bobby, what are you thinking for this week?
This one's tough because there's actually a lot of good themes on here.
There is
really a lot of good stuff. Because we covered, and I'll probably, like you were mentioning earlier, probably do like a little sprinkle out, on Twitter, a few extra plays, just tweet them out, what I kind of think as I kind of scroll through later in the week and when I get free time and whatnot, just eyeballing what's kind of going on to give people an opportunity. I mean, out of everything we covered here, Dvalishvili, Umar, Makhachev, Tsarukyan, Hill, Prochazka, Dariush, Moicano, Kevin Holland, Ritter. Because I've already called Ritter finish, Moicano finish, Hill finish. Merab, I like just the money line for that. I think I'm really just gonna go hard on this Islam man, on this Islam fellow, and I'm gonna say haymaker, the straight KO TKO at plus 600. That's too good to pass up.
I like it, man. I like it. If he can do it to Volk, he could do it to Arman. It's going to break my heart if he does, but this is going to be one heck of a card. I'm actually excited for some of the prelims and early prelims. That's how loaded this card is. So make sure you guys subscribe so you get more of our content in the future. We cover every UFC card. Bobby, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace, guys.
Peace.